And if you've been around rendering long enough, you probably have heard about TwinMotion. TwinMotion is a tool from the folks at Epic Games, and right now they've just announced TwinMotion 2023.2 Preview 1. And currently, with this preview release, TwinMotion is now poised to leverage of certain tools that exist exclusively for Unreal Engine 5, and one of them is Lumen. As Lumen is now available in this version of TwinMotion, making it very easy for everyone to actually light their scene and get a closer relation with what the scene looks like in real time versus what they get when rendering. The standard rendering option is still available, but if you're trying to get the best visual quality when working with your scene within your viewport prior to rendering, then turning on Lumen will be a better option, as Lumen is based on ray tracing as it calculates one light bounce and one reflection bounce on surfaces, giving a much better viewport rendering quality result. And how you get this going is super easy, as all you need to do is set up the scene that you want to work on, click on ambience within the scene tree inspector, go over to the render section directly under the ambience, keep it as real time, and within the global illumination, change this from standard to Lumen. You can already tell that this gives you a different and a higher quality viewport rendering compared to what you have with standard. And this is basically what the rendering would look like when you get to render this final result. You can proceed to make some tweakings with the settings that comes with Lumen, and this is totally up to you. Another cool improvement that now comes with TwinMotion is working with Sketchfab. At this point, if you're working with any Sketchfab file, you can now have access to the hierarchy. So if you have drag and drop any Sketchfab scene into your scene or any Sketchfab object into your scene, if you go over to the scene hierarchy, you can now have access to all of the individual components that makes up the Sketchfab scene or the Sketchfab object you dragged into your scene. At the same time, you can go ahead and import your files as merged files if you want to do that. And how to have access to this is by going over to Edit, go over to Preference, and right here where you have the Sketchfab library import, if you click on the drop down, you can make this merge all objects. So what this will do is whenever you're importing any Sketchfab file, this comes as a merged object. But then if you like to move parts around, then you might want to uncheck that and get access to all of the parts that were used in making the Sketchfab model that you're dragging into your scene. In addition to the new features that are now available in TwinMotion 2023.2 is the local exposure. This option is to preserve highlights and shadow details, and where you actually find more use for this is when you're working with high dynamic range scenes. And for example, if you like to throw in a high dynamic range scene or HDRI environment, within the library section, you can go over to HDRI environment and you can select from a list of environments that exist here. So once you throw those in, those would automatically replace the default TwinMotion lighting scene, and you can have access to playing with the HDRI environment light by going over to the HDRI environment directly within the ambience section where you have your environment exposure settings. So from here, you can make changes, and how you actually have access to the local exposure is to go over to the exposure section, and if we simply just click all the way out and go back here to select the ambience, if you go over to the local exposure right now, you can enable it. So we can turn this on and turn this off, and you can see it. So once this is not enabled, this is what we get. And once you enable it, you can see what you have. So with this, you can throw in a highlight reduction, which actually knocks off the highlight. And we can also do the same thing with the shadow boosting. So we can now boost the shadows, or we can crunch this down. So depending on what you want, the local exposure is now here, and you can take full advantage of it, especially if you're rendering interior or product scenes and you like to take advantage of the high dynamic range feature which comes with TwinMotion. Something else that comes with TwinMotion is the basic glass. So how this one works is very easy. So in this case, if we have this object selected, let's simply tap F on the keyboard to frame in on that. And if we go over to the material section, right now, if you're working with glass, there is now the basic glass, the standard glass, and also the colored one. So with the basic one, this has been stripped off all of the specific things that you need a glass for. So if you just need a basic glass, this is it. If you need a standard glass that comes with fingerprint imperfections and also dust imperfections, then you can go with something like this. But then if you just need a basic glass, you don't want something that has to do with too much color effect or standard effect, just a basic glass to get your rendering going on, then you can select the basic glass and get this going, as this simply offers all of the basic things that you need for your architectural or product visualization, rather than fiddling with the standard feature to get some more intricate things that might end up slowing your performance or end up slowing the rendering that you are making. Additionally, some updates will be coming over to water, as there's also a new update to the real world lighting support. And if you'd like to find out more about the progress or things in progress for the next release of TwinMotion, then you can go to the in progress section that shows you the roadmap of things coming. So all the way from camera preview to improved fabric to water material transparency in Path Tracer, down to importing Adobe Substance 3D SBS AR files, to WebVR support for viewing panoramic set. TwinMotion 2023.2 will definitely be coming with some very interesting things that architectural, product, and also visualization artists would have fun working with, as this brings real-time performance to everyone and leveraging of the technology that exists in Unreal Engine 5. So this is it. For those who like to read up on this, or probably like to read up on some of the notes that has been released, then you can go over to the link in the description that will bring you right here where you can check it. TwinMotion is currently free for community edition and also educational edition. So if you like to get this, you can simply download it and take advantage of all of the real-time features that this ships with. Tell me what you guys think about this one in the comment section. And of course, if you like this video or you learned something from this, you can go ahead and give a like and don't forget to share with a friend. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.